R&B superstar R. Kelly. He has been indicted. We don't know the counts yet or many of the details, but first of all, we know he has a no bond arrest warrant, so there's that. And we also just kind of handed this from Sarah Seidner, who was in the room. Looking at the screen. Let's listen.
Good afternoon. Earlier today, Robert Kelly was indicted before a Cook County grand jury on 10 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse involving 4 victims. The first victim, initials HW, was involved in incidents which occurred between May 26, 1998 and May 25, 1999. A grand jury returned an indictment on 4 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse based on the victim being under the age of 17 and Robert Kelly being more than 5 years older than the victim. The second victim, initials RL, was involved in an incident which occurred between September 26, 1998 and September 25, 2001. A grand jury returned an indictment on 2 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse based on the victims being under the age of 17 and Robert Kelly being more than 5 years older than that victim. The third victim, initials LC, was involved in an incident which occurred February 18, 2003. A grand jury returned an indictment on 1 count of aggravated criminal sexual abuse based on the transmission of semen by Robert Kelly upon any part of the body of the victim for the purpose of sexual gratification during the course of an underlying felony of attempt criminal sexual assault. The fourth victim, initials JP, was involved in incidents which occurred between May 1, 2009 and January 31, 2010. A grand jury returned an indictment on 3 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse based on the victim being under the age of 17 and Robert Kelly being more than 5 years older than the victim. Aggravated criminal sexual abuse is a Class 2 felony with a sentencing range of 3 to 7 years per count. It is also probationable. We anticipate that Mr. Kelly will appear in bond court tomorrow afternoon. Thank you.
All right, so there you have it. We were wondering how many counts? 10. 10 counts, 4 victims, 4 women, ranging from the years, I jotted down between essentially 1998 and as recent as 2010. Jamila Lemieux, Joey Jackson. Guys, let me know when Sarah Seidner's up, but
I think it's significant in as much as, look, a critical question is going to be the statute of limitations. And, of course, the statute of limitations for a minor is 20 years after you reach the age of 18. And so if you're in that applicable period, it can go forward. It seems as though from the charges she listed off, they're in that applicable period. That's number one. Number two, there's 4 victims here. That's pretty compelling. Think about a trial when you have one witness testify as to things that are very significant. And what is significant? Having sex with a minor, right? And then you have another witness testify, and there are multiple counts as to each. So they'll be describing different circumstances, different scenarios, et cetera. And then you have the third witness testify, and then you have another. So I think, again, haven't evaluated any evidence. She stated her piece. I'm not surprised she didn't take questions. Prosecutors get into a lot of trouble when they start taking questions. She just laid out what the accusations are, but these accusations are significant.
And so what's happening with R. Kelly? Where's R. Kelly? What's next for him? She mentioned a bond hearing tomorrow.
At some point, he will have to, generally what happens is that when there's an arrest warrant, usually law enforcement gives you the opportunity with counsel to surrender yourself. When they surrender yourself, you'll go to that bond hearing. At that bond hearing, a judge will make the determination as to whether or not you get bail. Remember, the purpose of bail, Brooke, is to determine whether or not, right, it ensures that you come back to court. It's not preventative. It's not punitive. It just sets an amount that gives you an incentive to come back. At that hearing, his lawyers will argue that he's a good risk to return. People know who R. Kelly is. I'm sure he'll have to surrender a passport. There'll be other conditions conditions, and the bail may be substantial, but certainly it's likely and probable that he'll be granted bail tomorrow.
So these alleged incidents have been going on for decades, and I asked you this. I want you to make your point again. That I asked you, why has this allegedly been going on so long, and it's taken this long to indict the man? And you said what?
I stand firmly in the belief that we're only now hearing this because these were black girls, that he was not tried and successfully prosecuted in the past because these were young black girls. And these were not black girls typically of means. These weren't celebrities, with the exception of Aaliyah. These were regular working class girls from places like the South Side of Chicago, from the South. Girls that are believed to be adults from the point that they grow breasts, or can walk the streets unaccompanied at 11 or 12. Girls that are thought to be more responsible for what happens to them in the care of an adult than the adult themselves. That people who believe that R. Kelly is guilty have said, but what about those girls? At 14, I knew better than to do that. Or at 16, what are you doing in the company of a grown man?
Blaming the victim.
Blaming the victim over and over again. And I think that this particular demographic of victims has been blamed so often that people don't see them as victims. They see them as co-conspirators at best and the actual villains at worst.
Until that BuzzFeed piece, until the surviving R. Kelly, until she, the state's attorney came out and said, please come forward if you are a witness or if you, are a survivor, come forward and please share your story. And therefore, that brings us to today. Sarah Seidner is in the room. Sarah Seidner, there you have it. 10 counts, 4 victims.
That's right, 10 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse. What was interesting to listen to there is that she gave the initials of the alleged victims' names, and she also mentioned something else. She said that they are expecting to see R. Kelly, Robert Sylvester Kelly, in the bond hearing, which means that there should be, or there is likely, conversations going back and forth between him and his attorney and somebody from the state's attorney's office as they are trying to figure out whether or not he was turned himself in or whether or not he will be arrested. I do want to read you a little bit of what we have gotten from the state's attorney's office here, just to be able to digest all that we have learned, if you don't mind. So she talked about the first victim. She gave the initials of the first victim. And what's interesting here are the dates. So this, she says, occurred between 1998 and 1999. And that was a year that she has listed there, May 98 to May 99. And she talked about a sexual abuse victim who was under the age of 17, and that Robert Kelly was more than 5 years older than the victim. That could, we do not know, that could well be referring to the girl that we saw on the videotape that was handed over to the prosecution a week ago. I will also read you the next one, which was from September 1998 till 2001. Now think about the length of time that these cases that they have been looking into. This may mean that they have not just witness testimony that they are aware of, but that there are some other things and other pieces of evidence that they are looking at as well. We know, obviously, that there is a videotape that they have in their possession in this particular case, and that the third victim, it said, there was an incident that occurred, and it's a very specific date, on February 18th, 2003. The last victim, May 2009 to January 2010. So in some cases, and in the last case, it also was a victim being under the age of 17. And the reason why 17 is so important here is because that is in Illinois the age of consent. And so we are talking about minors. In a couple of these cases, it is specific, and I think in 3 of the 4 cases, it is specifically about a victim being under the age of 17. In other words, a minor who cannot consent, and they're talking about aggravated criminal sexual abuse. These are major charges. In order to be, open and honest about what all has gone on, we should also mention the grand jury has been meeting for quite some time, hearing witness testimony, seeing potential evidence in the case, and that they did indict the state's attorney going forward with charges. There has now been an arrest warrant that has filed, that has been confirmed to us by Chicago police. Now we are waiting to find out when R. Kelly is going to, if he is going to turn himself in or whether or not he will be arrested. But certainly there is a bond hearing scheduled between 12:30 local time and 1 o'clock tomorrow, in which the state's attorney said they expected to see R. Kelly. So that gives you some idea that they are expecting him to be there. In other words, he'll either be picked up or he will turn himself in with the help of his attorney, Steve Greenberg. We should also mention Steve Greenberg, well aware of what was happening here, and we are hoping to hear something from him. But all this time that R. Kelly has been accused over decades of time, where there have been accusations about him having inappropriate sexual contact with young girls, with girls who were minors. He has always maintained his innocence. He has always said that he has done nothing wrong, nothing illegal with young girls. He did an interview, for example, with Black Entertainment Television, BET, back in 2008, and he was asked directly, "Do you like teenage girls?" And his response was, "Well, depends on how old they are," and then went on to say that, of course, these teenagers, a lot of them are his fans, and that he has friendships with teenagers, but that he has done nothing illegal. So he has maintained that he has not done anything illegal over the years. We have not heard anything from him or his attorney now, but remembering that these charges just came forward in the last few minutes, all of this information obviously is going to be handed over to his attorney, and then we will see where we go from there. But this is a major development in a story that has been permeating this area of Chicago and the rest of the country for years.
Decades.
And there is the element, Brooke, and you have talked about this. This is important. There is the element here that these black women who came forward to talk about what they say they had gone through in the Surviving R. Kelly series, they felt ignored by us, the media. They felt ignored by law enforcement. They felt ignored by so many people when they tried to get help, when they tried to explain what was happening to them. And they also felt that because R. Kelly was who he was, because he was such a superstar, because he was such a big moneymaker, that he had the power and has always maintained the power in their relationship. So it is important to note that now there is an indictment. We're talking 11 years after he was acquitted in a 2008 trial on child pornography charges. There is now an indictment where he is facing aggravated sexual abuse charges. This is big, Brooke.
No, you have been incredible on all of this, Sarah Seidner. Thank you so much. A major moment for women, a major moment for women of color across this country. And again, he will be in custody at some point for that bond hearing tomorrow. So that's the latest on the R. Kelly news. I want to make